The Edmonton Oilers are starting to look unbeatable as they yet again find a way to get the job done despite their backs being against the wall for yet another game. And I'll sort of break down why the Oilers are unbeatable and how this bodes for the rest of the team. And, look out the rest of the league here, the rest of the playoff bracket, because these Oilers are on fire. All that more in today on Oilers Digest. But first, we reached 3,000 subscribers. I have nothing but gratitude and appreciation for each and every single one of you that have subscribed here to the channel. Commented down below, showing some love to the video. So again, much appreciation to those that love and support the channel here. But let's continue on this playoff run. I wish for 3,000 subscribers before the end of the playoffs, and for the Oilers, it looks like it is only just beginning. And we'll get right into last night's recap. It ain't over till it's over, folks, as the Oilers and Golden Knights face off in game one of the second round in the Western Conference. On the Western Conference side of the bracket there, the Vegas Golden Knights without Alex Pietrangelo last night due to an illness, so the Oilers trying to capitalize without both him and Pavel Dorofeyev, and that exactly is what they did. Is the Oilers, for I do believe the fourth time in the Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl era, they win a game one for the fourth time in the era there. Not just this one, but I do believe, 2017 against Anaheim in game one, last year against LA in Dallas, and finally this year, finally another game one that the Oilers win. It's not so often that this happens, but hey, you take it when you take it. In the first period there, we start things off with two Vegas Golden Knights goals. They're both by Mark Stone, 2 minutes and 13 seconds on the power play due to a double minor served by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins there was no call on the ice originally, but then, Vegas and, Vegas being Vegas, they looked to the review system there and handed Ryan Nugent-Hopkins a 4-minute penalty there, and the Vegas Golden Knights capitalizing on that one only once, which, glass half full here, but Mark Stone all alone in the slot beats Cal Pickard to make it 2-0 there. But before the end of the first period, Corey Perry, off of a significant feed there by Connor McDavid, finds a way to slide it past Adin Hill to make it 2-1 before the end of the first period. And that's all the Vegas Golden Knights would get on Edmonton. There is those two goals in the opening 10. There was no scoring in the second period, despite Edmonton outshooting Vegas 12-1. But in the third period, their puck luck finally catches up to them, with Leon Draisaitl banking it in off of Adin Hill. Meanwhile, Zach Hyman breaking the 2-2 deadlock late in the third period there, and Connor Brown putting the icing on the cake there. You would have thought it was Connor McDavid in that jersey there, as the undressed Shea Theodore to seal the deal for these Edmonton Oilers in the game one victory there. And from Bleacher Report here, the Oilers are the first team in NHL history with 5 consecutive comeback wins in the playoffs, and they've done it on their 5 opening wins to start the postseason. Not only that, but Cal Pickard is the first Oiler goalie to start 5-0 in the postseason since Grant Fuhr in 1985. What else happened in 1985? I mean, I'll let you figure that one out there, but you can see in the 5 Oiler wins there, they have trailed at some point in the game. All 5 wins certainly were not the same there. You can't say these Oiler playoff wins haven't been exciting. Each and every single one of them hanging on your seat until the very, very end. I mean, if that's not Oilers hockey, folks, I don't know what is there. And from Kris Knoblauch and the way these Oilers face adversity and how it will bode for them in the rest of the playoff series, says that's part of having a mature, older group. Players have seen a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. In the playoffs, things fluctuate. There's a lot of things that can stress out the team no matter what happens. I think we handled it really well tonight. And after that tire fire of a first period there, I mean, it wasn't the worst first period, but I mean, it certainly could have been better. But that was, the best 40 minutes I've certainly played the Oilers, seen the Oilers play all year there. I mean, I was just dominant from, the opening puck drop to start the second period to the end of the game. Sure, the Oilers are trailing for a lot of it, but that's just, the way Adin Hill is against these Edmonton Oilers. He can never make it easy on them there. Shots on goal, 28-17 in favor of the Oilers. Vegas only being held to 9 shots at 5-on-5, which is stellar considering how good that team is on the rush and just 5-on-5 in general there. 42-33 in favor of the Vegas Golden Knights, and the hit counter, if that means anything to you there. 33-19, this is what matters, the faceoffs for the Edmonton Oilers, dominating the Vegas Golden Knights on the dot there. Oilers going 0 for 2 on their power plays. Meanwhile, Vegas going 1 for 3 on that opening Mark Stone goal there. And, neither team scored in the second period, even though the Oilers outshot Vegas 12-1. The Golden Knights had never been held to fewer than 2 shots on goal in a regulation playoff period. And they played a lot of playoff hockey since their inception in 2017. I mean, they've only missed the playoffs once. For that, the Oilers to be the first team to ever do that to Vegas, I mean, that's very, very impressive there. And Vegas, even more impressive, which just had 7 shots on goal over the final 2 periods, lost a playoff game in regulation after leading by at least 2 goals for the very first time. The Golden Knights are 47-4 overall in the postseason with that kind of lead. And the 3-stars here, Zach Hyman, first star of the game. I mean, he was a dog last night on that line with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Evander Kane. The analytics didn't exactly agree with me there, but that line should have deserved a couple more goals there. Mark Stone, of course, the 2-goal night, getting him the second star of the game. Surprised he didn't get the first star, with the home team bias selecting the 3 stars. But hey, who might have complained there? And then Leon Draisaitl, the power of German engineering, getting himself the 3rd star with 2 points in almost 21 minutes time on ice. And from Zach Hyman, the way these Oilers are, even when they're down, they play the same. At times when we're playing our best, I think we're fast. And when we're fast, we wear the other team down. It's hard to generate because you're tired and you have to change. And I think for us, we have to get to that game right from the start and make it easier on ourselves not being down in games. But I think we have experience to win many games in many different ways, a lot of untraditional ways. I mean, pretty much every soundbite from every Oiler player interviewed last night post-game just said, I got to start with the lead. I mean, these Oilers haven't started with the lead at all pretty much during these Stanley Cup playoffs. So, sure, it'll be different. I mean, they're not used to playing with the lead in the past couple games there, but just, to apply their pressure on the other team instead of, the Oilers having to claw their way back. Like I said, it makes for a very interesting game, but it also makes for a very tiresome beginning when, the Oilers will probably give up the first goal or first 2 goals there. But for the Oilers to know that they have to change that, it's sort of, confident and calming to me, seeing like, okay, these guys obviously know, Captain Obvious here saying, that's not the right thing to do there. And a very veteran-laden team, I do believe they will turn things around and get the job done when it comes to starting games on time there. Just taking a look at the individual stats here. I mean, the big guns doing what they do best there. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Evan Bouchard having himself a game there. And then Corey Perry, very close to his 40th birthday. Certainly doesn't look like it on the ice there with that opening goal for the Oilers last night. And even, folks that didn't put a point on the score sheet here, they're making contributions in many other ways, whether it be, Vasily Podkolzin with 5 hits in almost 8 minutes of time on ice there. Sure, I know I don't really put much stock into hits, but I mean, the guy is a dog all over the ice. Darnell Nurse didn't exactly have himself the worst game. I mean, that's baby steps, right, for him in the playoffs there. But again, players that didn't have a point, I don't want to say anybody had like a very weak game last night, but it ranged from not dominant but fantastic to okay, well, they didn't do anything good, but they also didn't do anything bad. And really, that's you take what you can get out of these Oilers in the playoffs there. I mean, the depth scoring has been phenomenal in the past couple of games. Hopefully this continues and sort of balance it out. You got to keep the depth to big boy ratio at high there with McDavid, Indra, so you got to expect one of them to take over a series like this, because really they're gonna need it against Eichel, Shea Theodore, and Mark Stone there. Almost forgot his name for a second. I mean, he's from Winnipeg, and I forgot his name. But yeah, you gotta take over against these Vegas big boys there. And just taking a look at the individual lines here, the natural stat trick chart did not have the 4th line there with Podkolzin, Janmark, and Arvidsson, but I'll get to that in a second. But the Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins, and the Evander Kane line, sure, outshot on the Corsi and Fenwick for attempts there, but I mean, they did have 2 shots for it, but only 1 shot against theirs. The shot attempts, dominated by Vegas, but those 3 guys holding their own on the second line there. But I'm a big fan of the Frederick, Henrique, and Brown line there. Lots of energy on that line with Trent Frederick. Still, each game he's getting better and better, and then Connor Brown turning into playoff Connor McDavid, and he's in the East Stanley Cup playoffs. He's a guy that elevates his game to a higher level, which you love to see. I mean, the guy during the regular season these past 2 years, okay, hasn't been up to snuff, but when that calendar turns to the second week of April, you get a much different player, and that is what we love to see there. Like I mentioned, the Arvidsson, Janmark, Podkolzin line only on the ice together for a little under 5 minutes there, but on ice shot attempts 4 to 2. So, again, didn't really do a whole lot, offensively, trying to create anything offensively wise, but again, didn't give up anything dramatic. So, that is what you can get out of, again, a very energetic fourth line. Victor Arvidsson not really doing a whole lot in these playoffs. I'd rather have a guy like Jeff Skinner in over him, but I'm not the coach. What do I know there? But just taking a look at the hockey stat chart here, Evan Bouchard, just phenomenal by him last night, both numbers-wise in just the eye test there. Those are one of those games where, he'll be pretty much worth his upcoming contract. And many Oiler fans, he sort of, I don't want to say bipolar, but, game to game, you never know which kind of Evan Bouchard you're going to get. But, he has the ability to take over a game there. But Draisaitl, McDavid, Darnell Nurse, like I mentioned, Evander Kane, who knew he was going to have this type of performance coming back from all those surgeries and not playing for a full regular season there. So again, not much to complain about from these Oilers past the first period. I mean, I could make an entire video on that first period, but you know what? It was only 2-1 nights after that, and the Oilers turned it on in the second and third, and that is what you love to see there. Like you can see on the natural stat trick chart here, the Oilers didn't get overly dominated in the first period there, but it wasn't up to snuff, being, outchanced 5-2 by the Vegas Golden Knights, but the rest of the way, the Oilers with a 13-3 advantage in the high danger chance for category there, and all over the Knights in the second and third period there. So, if you can get that full effort for a full 60 minutes, the Oilers will be very, very hard to beat. I know the 1993 Habs, they dropped the first 2 games of their opening series round to the Quebec Nordiques, and then they rattled off, 4 wins against the Nordiques, and then they went on to win 11 more. So hopefully that sort of bodes well for these Oilers in the postseason this year. I know the 90s were a much different time, but sometimes, history can be parallel with each other. And how can I forget Cal Pickard with an 882? Sure, not the sexiest number, but he managed to get the job done. I mean, the only 2 Vegas goals weren't exactly his fault there. I mean, the second one, it was pretty much, Mark Stone all alone in on Cal Pickard there. But that first goal, sure, he could have made himself look a lot bigger in the crease, but what can you do about deflections? I mean, that's really not much you can put on a goalie whatsoever there. But when it comes to Corey Perry and, how these Oilers perform, it says, I think our game doesn't change when it comes to, adversity. Their backs against the wall. And, what would the Oilers do different? It says, doesn't change. You look at how we played and scored. Yeah, we scored some 6-on-5 goals, but tonight our game didn't change. We didn't turn the puck over. We just kept coming at them, putting the puck deep, and eventually made some plays off the rush. Hymes with a great shot. Brownie, a great individual effort. I mean, fantastic individual effort. Undressed Shea Theodore to seal this one for the Oilers, and that's how it's done. I can't say enough about our team game there. But for these Oilers, it's only just begun, folks. As they take one game at the Fortress, they're looking to take another in just a couple of nights here. But for John Klingberg, brand new hip. I mean, much like my grandparents, they're also, brand new people after that hip replacement there. And John Klingberg, veteran, but also showing a flashback to what he could do with the Dallas Stars way back when. But Klingberg, he's got to keep his eyes on the prize there and keep his head level. Same with the rest of the team in the playoffs. You got to know how to win in different scenarios, and knowing that you can come back in games with the kind of players we have here, we know we can do that, so that's a huge plus. But for the next few games, maybe we can play with a lead a little bit. I mean, that's just a recurring statement here by every single one of these Edmonton Oilers. So yeah, they got their eyes on the prize. You never know what's going to happen in the playoffs. You have to stay even-keeled, never get too high or too low, and just move on to the next game. Well, when is the next game? Thursday, May 8th at the Fortress T-Mobile Arena. Oilers Knights in Game 2 of the second round, 8:30 Central, 7:30 Mountain. And that is it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about last night's game. Who did you think performed the best for the Edmonton Oilers last night? And, would you make any lineup changes for next game or keep it rolling there? I know I mentioned, throwing a guy like Jeff Skinner in for Victor Arvidsson there, just sort of, just to change the pace. But I mean, these Oilers, again, 5 straight wins. What I might be saying is probably stupid. Who knows? I say a lot of stupid things, but I'm very curious to see what you all have to say in the comments. I mean, that's a big win. A Game 1 victory. We don't get these too often from these Edmonton Oilers. And, they're hungry after last year. But enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, folks. Take care. I'm Matt.